When someone exposes corruption in a third world country or a corrupt country, their life is attempted all the time. You don't expect it to happen in Australia where someone is revealing corrupt bodies, corrupt governments, and then their life is attempted on. You have to, if you're the police and you want to maintain civil society, you have to find who did this and you have to bring them under the full weight of the law. The New South Wales Police has to put aside their feelings about Friendlyjordies and, him holding the microscope up to the police themselves. And they have a duty, an Australian duty, a moral duty, a legal duty to uncover who did this, who threw the match into Jordan Shanks's Bondi home last night just after midnight. Holy moly, guacamole. Police investigating suspicious blaze of Bondi home of comedian Friendlyjordies. Now, I'll tell you my conspiracy theory about why I think Jordan's home was firebombed. But first, let's get some basic facts down. This reaction video is happening quickly. So quickly that I've forgotten a mic stand. So please, if I miss something on the fly, comment in the comment section, like and subscribe. This is still a YouTube video. Essentially, Jordan Shanks, guest of the Ferg Neil Show, fellow comedian, has had his house firebombed. Police are investigating a suspicious fire at the Sydney home of YouTube political commentator and comedian Friendlyjordies this morning. Police have revealed it was the second fire reported at the Bondi property in 7 days. A lot of the press skimmed over that fact, but I think that is the most consequential part of this entire occurrence. The second fire reported at the property in 7 days. Someone who's trying to firebomb Jordan has attempted this before, and it was reported to police, and police are, all right, I guess that happens, one firebomb in a week, you know what they say, one firebomb ain't a crime. 2 firebombs, now we've probably got to do something about it. The blaze is huge. It looks like the whole house is engulfed. I know Jordan's on tour right now, but if he was home, he'd probably be dead. Law firm Xenophon Davis, which represents Mr. Shanks, claimed his home was firebombed. In a statement, they said their client was safe and hoped police dedicate every resource possible to finding the culprit. Mr. Shanks came to the scene at Wilger Street this afternoon where he chatted with police before briefly addressing the media. He said his mind was racing over who was responsible, but claimed to have a list of suspects. And I've got my own list of suspects who we'll come to in a second. The comedian also raised grievances with his portrayal in the media. Emergency crews arrived at the scene about 1:20 a.m. in the morning and found a veranda engulfed in flames. Holy shit. Now, the weird thing about him talking to the police is that the New South Wales Police don't love Jordan Shanks. You might remember such escapades as the Fixated Persons Unit, and more recently, he's done videos on the inherent corruption in the New South Wales Police Force. These are my 4 people who I think could possibly have done the firebombing. Number 1 is corrupt cops. I think it's possible that a police officer has just gone rogue and has said, okay, Jordan Shanks is bringing way too much heat to the force. Let's put some heat on him just to get him to back off a little bit, just to get him. And it's done anonymously. When you do the Fixated Persons Unit, there's going to be media attention. But when it's just like a rogue cop who just chucks a flame into a building, an old 1930s wooden house in Bondi, and it engulfs, I think you can kind of get away with that. Number 2, mafia mates of John Barilaro. I think that's a possibility. I don't even think John Barilaro would have directed them, but I think it's possible that some friends were like, okay, it's been long enough. Jordan Shanks ruined John Barilaro's life. That's how they would perceive it. And I think they'd be like, let's do this for John. Let's just chuck a cigarette in there with a bit of gas and light the place up. Give him a bit of a scare. Number 3, I think it's, and this is my most likely, I think that it could be either someone associated with Clubs New South Wales or somebody who is in a gang that put money through Clubs New South Wales. Because if you don't remember, Friendlyjordies and his brilliant producer Christo have done a lot of reporting on Clubs New South Wales, and the whistleblower Troy Stolz, who follows me on Twitter, so maybe he watches my videos, shout out Troy. Let's read this article, and I think it'll start becoming apparent that something is going on with Clubs New South Wales and their associations, because Clubs New South Wales it's one of the dirtiest organisations in Australia. So when you think of someone throwing a firebomb, you don't think of it coming from Mary Teresa's fingernail. You imagine it come from a guy who looks like Fat Tony, and he's like, send the flicker to the wicker, and then he lights it up. Club's lobby is seeking charges of contempt against YouTuber and Troy Stoltz over interview. Jordan Shanks, known as Friendlyjordies and whistleblower Troy Stoltz, will face criminal contempt proceedings initiated by New South Wales' powerful Clubs lobby, which has been pursuing the pair in secret for more than a month. The development represents a dramatic escalation in the bitter dispute between Clubs New South Wales and Stoltz, a former employee now diagnosed with cancer, and potentially put Stoltz and Friendlyjordies at risk of criminal conviction and imprisonment. So what happened is that Stoltz and Club New South Wales have been locked in a protracted case before the federal court for more than 2 years over his alleged unlawful use of confidential information, including his decision to share details of the sector's alleged non-compliance of anti-money laundering laws with journalists. So essentially, Stoltz has come out and said, look, Clubs New South Wales is laundering money. I'm working here. I'm seeing them put through money, and there is all this legislation so they can continually cover it up. Friendlyjordies, with his massive platform, has brought attention to this. And now Clubs New South Wales, in response, they brought contempt charges against Jordan Shanks. If they're willing to bring contempt charges, which is a pretty dramatic escalation, as this article says, why wouldn't they chuck an ember into an old matchstick building? 2 months ago, YouTuber Jordan Shanks published an interview between his producer Chris Solanka and Stoltz, in which Stoltz revealed he was being treated for cancer with a bleak prognosis. The video, titled "The Legal Way to Take a Life," has since been removed by YouTube. So if they're willing to take down YouTube videos, if they're willing to essentially try and kill a dude, they're trying to take down a cancer patient through just insane legal bureaucracies, why wouldn't they chuck a match into a Bondi home of a YouTuber? When I saw Jordan approaching the media, he looked shook, as you would be. But it was a different kind of shook, where I think in his eyes, he was like, is this where this goes? Because once you have your house burnt down, I think that you don't have the same kind of fight or flight response for the rest of your life. I think that's elevated. I've had friends who have been stabbed, for instance, and they're different people when they come out of that. They're less trusting of society. Their fight or flight is ramped. They're kind of ready to go all the time. They're more stressed. And I imagine that Jordan Shanks will go through something similar, where because he's had an attempted murder on his life, which, let's be honest, that's what that is. Fire is a dangerous thing. People die in house fires every single day. Jordan Shanks has been through an attempted murder, for lack of a better phraseology. That's what's happened here. And I wonder how he comes out of this. I wonder if he comes out of this stronger or debilitated or wary, or it's interesting. I think we wait and see, but I hope Jordan Shanks is okay. I sent him a text message. I said, hey man, I hope you're doing all right. It's obviously very stressful. Let's see what comes out of this. Godspeed to the New South Wales Police. Please, if you're in the New South Wales Police, find who did this. Find out who tried to target a journalist and comedian revealing corruption in this great country called Australia, and has been under the microscope by the media themselves, and now has their life attempted on. I don't think people realize how serious that is. When someone exposes corruption in a third world country or a corrupt country, their life is attempted all the time. You don't expect it to happen in Australia, where someone is revealing corrupt bodies, corrupt governments, and then their life is attempted on. You have to, if you're the police and you want to maintain civil society, you have to find who did this, and you have to bring them under the full weight of the law. The New South Wales Police has to put aside their feelings about Friendlyjordies and, you know, him holding the microscope up to the police themselves. And they have a duty, an Australian duty, a moral duty, a legal duty to uncover who did this, who threw the match into Jordan Shanks's Bondi home last night just after midnight. If you're watching this video, like, subscribe, comment, share it with your friends, get the news out there. My name's Fergus Neal, and I'll see you next time when I do the Ferg Neal Show podcast.